CPA Canada introduced the new Compilation Standards, effective for periods ending on or after December 14, 2021. So why did they do this, and what has changed?
This update is more than just a tweak. It means increased work and increased costs for practitioners working with small business clients.
Historically, compilation engagements were known as notice to readers. Now, that's being replaced with a, quote, compilation engagement report. While they may seem similar at first glance, there are subtle yet important differences.
The old notice to reader was straightforward. Based on management's information, the accountant compiled financial statements without performing an audit or review, expressing no assurance. The new compilation engagement report includes management's responsibility for accuracy and completeness, and explicitly states adherence to Canadian Standard on Related Services 4200.
From my perspective, that sounds like creating a new assurance standard without actually providing any new assurance. That begs the question, who was this developed for?
Exactly. So what are the real differences? 3 main areas stand out. First, the practitioner's review of the information. Second, management's determination of the accounting basis, and finally, the required documentation.
Under the new standard, practitioners must consider whether compiled information, quote, appears misleading, a stronger requirement than the previous plausible standard. This demands a deeper level of review. Despite this, the new report asked practitioners to disclose that we did not perform an audit engagement or a review engagement, nor were we required to perform procedures to verify the accuracy or completeness of the information provided by management.
Exactly. Without a review, how can anyone determine whether the financial statements are either plausible or misleading? So now practitioners need to perform enough of a review to determine that statements aren't misleading. But that doesn't sound much different than the level of assurance provided by a review. In our view, the primary user of most compiled financial statements is almost always the tax department. The tax department requires alignment with income tax legislation. Presentation in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles is not required or expected. About 97% of compilation engagements are performed in support of tax filings. And the tax department reserves the right to audit tax returns themselves anyway.
If you look at the service offerings of the smallest 78% of Canadian CPA firms, there is almost no resemblance to what our Big Four audit firms do. The smallest firms deal mostly with about 84% of businesses that have fewer than 5 staff and provide a combination of tax and compilation services. In fact, tax and compilation work includes a great deal of ad hoc systems design and bookkeeping as well as tax. By contrast, the Big Four firms derive 42% of their revenue from management consulting, which has been increasing since at least 2013. Assurance work for the small firms is mostly review engagement work, not auditing, and only comprises about 2% of small firm revenue. In other words, large and small firms have much different skill sets and provide different services. Ad hoc systems design combined with a broad understanding of income and indirect, i.e. sales taxes, is in fact specialist work, just as much as management consulting is. Management must now determine the basis of accounting, which often means practitioners need to educate clients on options. Plus, a new Management Acknowledgement of Responsibilities letter replaces the old Representation letter. Is this any different than the certification provided on Form T-183 that accompanies electronically filed personal and corporate income tax returns? Not really.
Do these new requirements simply allow professional bodies to maintain relevance as the importance of traditional audit work declines? In our view, smaller firms should have a greater role in determining standards for compiled financial information. Since the amalgamation of the 3 legacy accounting bodies in 2014, the professional regulatory bodies seem to be far less relevant to small practitioners. In Canada, as in all of the G7 countries, 95% or more of businesses have fewer than 50 employees. The vast majority of these have fewer than 10. Despite what most of us have been led to believe, that's also true in the US. The main difference there is that the largest corporations are much larger. Today, leadership of the profession seems to have lost the plot.